Premiere Pro has a number of features for working with 5.1 surround sound audio. I have this clip here I've imported into the project panel, just a basic WAV file. But if I expand the project panel, you can see that it is a 5.1 surround sound file. So I'm going to add this to my timeline panel. And as I do, watch what happens. Notice that these are all stereo tracks. These two little icons here, they're speakers facing left and right. That indicates that this is a stereo track. When I drag down my 5.1 surround sound audio, you can see that I have a clip down here at the bottom that's indicating it's going to have to make a brand new track for this audio because it is 5.1. And once it does, you can see the 5.1 indicating that this is a surround sound audio track. And when we go over to the audio mixer and expand this a little bit, we can see that it looks very different than the others. And let's go ahead and play this back. So you can see that the levels are showing up in the 5 different channels here. And you notice that it's actually not 5 channels, it's 5.1, or in other words, 6 different channels. Essentially what 5.1 surround sound is that it allows you to have a speaker in the left front, in the center, and in the right front, in the left rear, and the right rear of your stereo system. Now this is actually easier to see if we create a new sequence. So right now we're working in a stereo project or a stereo sequence. And so we have this current 5.1 surround sound track in our stereo sequence. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to create a new sequence, but this time I'm going to create a 5.1 sequence. Most of these presets are set for regular stereo audio. So what I want to do is, you can see this down here at the bottom here, master track type stereo. What I'm going to do is go down to tracks, and under audio, I'm going to change the master from stereo to 5.1, and then we'll go ahead and create one 5.1 track. And I'm going to leave this, actually I'll just take this down to 1 though, but I do want to create one stereo track to show you the difference. I'm going to click OK here, and we can import our 5.1 audio into our new sequence. And you'll see that the master track now has 6 tracks instead of the regular 5. And here we have the track that we've added the audio to here. And what happens is, if you try to bring in a regular stereo clip, it has to break out that stereo clip into 5.1 surround sound. And so it gives us this visual demonstration with this little puck of where the sound should be coming from. And so this little puck you could think of as being the center of like your living room with the 5.1 surround sound setup, with you here in the center. So here's the left front speaker, the center front speaker, the right front, the right rear, and the left rear speaker. And as you move this little hockey puck towards a certain speaker, that's kind of where the sound would be represented to be. So if you wanted it to sound like there was a sound coming from behind you while you're watching a movie, you can move this little puck back here towards one of the back areas. Now, as mentioned, there's only 5 points here. There's 5 different speakers. The 6th speaker, in other words, the point 1, is the low frequency sweetener, the extra woofer that you have that has these really thick bass tones. And so you can increase this, it's called the LFE. You can increase the bass going to the LFE by increasing this value right here. And then you can increase the amount going to the center by increasing this knob here. So that's basically to compensate for using a stereo track in a 5.1 project. As you can see here, there's no balance, there's no panning in the 5.1 track. And that's kind of one of the bummers about Premiere. If you really want to have total control over what you do with your 5.1 audio and where the tracks are panned to, then you want to use a program like Adobe Audition that has full features as far as moving things in 5.1 surround sound space. Now, another interesting feature that you could use is if you select the clip in the project panel and go to the clip menu, go to audio options, you could select breakout to mono. Now, watch the project panel when I do this. I'm going to choose breakout to mono. And what that does is it creates 6 different tracks that are mono. And so you could add these to a separate project and then independently move them around here. So let's say, for example, I'll take surround sound channel 1. I'll drag and I'll import that into my project. And now that shows up as a mono track here in the audio mixer. So I can independently adjust the level of one of the 5.1 surround sound tracks. I can also adjust where the 5.1 sound is going or where it should be. And so this isn't really full-featured 5.1 surround sound, but this is kind of a workaround so that you can play with and control the panning of surround sound audio files. It's not direct, but it does get the job done.